Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Ramona Galey. Ramona, did I get your name right?
Yes,
Both?
you certainly did, Will. Thank you so
You know,
much. I'm
as
really
much
glad to be here.
no, it's my pleasure. I didn't even get a chance to like rehearse your name.
Yeah,
So,
you nailed it. And not
so
everybody does. So
oh,
congratulations.
okay. So I feel better now.
Yeah.
So Ramona, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was your journey like? How did you get here to today? Yeah, what was that, your ups and downs and your aha moments?
Okay, well, sounds good. Well, so Will, I call myself a vibrational mentor. And that
Okay.
means that I work with clients. I work with clients both privately and in small group settings. And I teach people how to raise their own vibrations. And what that means is for the layperson is basically how to feel better. And
Yeah.
then once you start feeling better, then how to get better results in your life. So I subscribe to the idea that whatever we're experiencing in our lives is coming to us because we're matching it. And so instead of trying to get the outside to change and then that makes us happy, instead we get happy first and then that makes our outside change. So that's the basic overview of the whole thing. And I do that by receiving infinite intelligence, which some people call channeling.
Yeah.
So I go into a light trance and I receive my guides who are named Oprah, not like Oprah Winfrey, just Oprah without the H.
Right.
And it's a big joke. And so I help a lot of people in that way. And I know that the topic of the day is dating, and I can't wait to get into that. How to do dating from an attraction standpoint as opposed to a repelling standpoint, which is how most people approach dating. So I'm really glad to get into that. The way I got into the whole law of attraction field was about 10 years ago. My partner passed away. We
Mhm.
had been together 24 years. We
Yeah.
had
Sorry
this
to hear that. Yeah.
idyllic life. We were so happy together. She got pancreatic cancer and
Mhm.
she died in my arms.
Oh.
And that sounds very dramatic, right? And I thought my life was over. I thought my only source of unconditional love had just left the planet.
Mm.
And it wasn't like I could go and get a new dog, eventually, or a new cat, or even a new partner. I just didn't believe that there was anybody who would ever understand me the way she did, the way that we walked together facing life in the same direction. And so I was planning on taking myself out, following her. And it was about a week after she died. My friend who had stayed with me that whole week had just left. And I was walking around crying. I was composing the note in my head, and I had palmed the morphine from the hospice care, and so I knew exactly how I was doing it. I hadn't told a soul. I was committed to this course of action, and the phone rang, and it was Betty, my late partner's. It was her best friend, Lordella, and Lordella started talking. I was like, I don't even remember what I was saying. I was crying, and
Yeah.
I was hysterical. And she said, wait, you got to stop talking like that right now. And I said, well, sure, but I don't know how. And and I didn't add, but I could have added, and I don't care. It was the bottom of my life. And she started talking about Abraham Hicks. She said, have you ever heard of that? And I said, no, it sounds like a disease. What is that? Like Braxton Hicks. So I always laugh when I think about that. It sounds like a disease. And so she started telling me all about law of attraction and Abraham Hicks, and I started listening. She sent me a bunch of CDs. She told me what books to get. And I just immersed myself in this world. And at the end of the month, I was still pretty upset, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I felt like I, had some hope. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. In other words, I'm reserving the right to go ahead and take myself out later if I still need to, but I'm going to give this a little try. So that's kind of my turnaround point about 10 years ago. And I immersed myself, and I studied and I learned. And you go on YouTube and just put in Abraham Hicks, any subject, drugs, alcohol, abortion, sex, whatever it is, and you find out this very, very, very uplifting, positive approach. And so I started incorporating that into my life. Eventually, I started teaching it. And then eventually I started doing pretty much what they do. I don't do it in large audiences the way they do. That's the only way they do it. I only do it in private sessions and in small groups, like 15, 16 people at the most, very intimate settings. And so we get into some really deep stuff. And people talk about their unworthiness feelings, their struggles, their hopes, their desires, their dreams. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. And we do
Wow.
talk about dating sometimes. We talk about everything, but
Yeah.
dating definitely one of our hot topics.
Yeah, no, I mean that's some journey. Boy, I can't wait to put everything on the show notes. So, and today's topic is a good one, right? Being focused on what we want when it comes to dating. And
Yeah,
the thing is, Ramona, I'm noticing that sometimes people get together because they might be lonely,
yeah.
and then it doesn't work out after what, maybe a couple of months or less than a
Oh yeah.
month or something like that. And I remember sometimes. Um, when I was young in my 20s, I would date someone, then within a month it was over. And then
Right.
I realized there was nothing in common. It was just maybe an initial attraction, but I didn't get to know her. I didn't get to know, what made her tick, what was her ups and downs, what were her, what makes her happy, what makes her sad. And I see that a lot still to this day, that we're not friends first. And then because I think this the stigma of friends
Hmm.
it's just a bad thing. I know. Listen, it's like when men get friend zoned. As much as we like that girl and she doesn't like us back that way, but we still want to be in her presence, but with no hope of any romantic happenings. Do you think? Are you seeing that maybe we're not becoming friends first? That it's just we just jump into the saddle, as they say, or jump on the saddle, and let's see what happens in 30 days. Does my
Yeah.
question make
Well,
any sense at all?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Will, I mean, you nailed the ham. You hit the head the nail on the head. Is however that saying goes. So absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I teach is focus.
Mm,
What are we focused on? So when we want to meet someone, and this is relationships is such a perfect encapsulation of everything I teach because you can actually see the result. It's not quite so clear with money or with health, because health can, your body can kind of lag a little bit, and money is, doesn't, it's kind of esoteric. But with dating, like you can get like empirical results, like outcomes, like that you can see and feel and taste and touch, and it's just really great. So I love this topic. So if I am focused on what I want in a partner, and it's not just words, and it's not just visions, it's not even just sounds, it's feelings. So
mm,
when I start to focus on what I want in terms of feelings and I really feel it, then I'm much more discerning about when I meet people if they are a match or not, because I'm actually feeling it.
mm.
Right. So this example that you gave, I run into somebody, and we there's some chemistry involved, and so we get together, and then a month later it's over, and then I didn't really get to know her, and don't know exactly why it went wrong. Right. I mean, that's like what
Yeah,
happened, and
yeah,
who was that masked man? Kind of a feeling, right? It was just kind of like two ships passing in the night.
yeah.
If When I am focused on exactly what I want, and I don't mean exactly like detail, I mean like in feelings, like I want a partner, I want to feel alive when I'm with them. I want to really enjoy listening to their voice, to them speak. I love the sparkles in their eyes. I love in other words, I'm loving the feeling of that person. So in other words, it's a thing between the two of us that I'm loving. It's not just something about this person has, this kind of hair or this height. A lot of women think they just want tall men, or skinny men or bald men or not bald men, or and a lot of men, think that they want, a certain cosmetic, appearance, or a certain level of fitness, or whatever it is. And so with those things, you feel like there's no real feelings about that.
Mm,
So the next time you go, here's my best tip for your listeners. Okay, the next time you go on a date, focus on everything you like about that person, even if it's a total dog. Let's say you go on a blind date, right? I'm on a blind date, and this woman won't stop talking about her ex.
mm,
Or this woman, dresses so shabbily that I'm embarrassed to be seen with her, or whatever it is. It's a dog. Find the thing, maybe she's got nice teeth. Maybe she picked me up and she's a really great driver, or maybe, whatever it is,
yeah,
that I like about her, I'm going to focus on that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily see her again. So
right.
in other words, I'm not overriding my preference or my decision point or my personality. I'm just saying the whole time I'm like driving home or when I get home, I could sit down and write down, all these things I really liked about her. And I really appreciate that, she split the bill or whatever it was that she did, all those things. And so I can sit in appreciation of her as a person and not focus on all the things that she did. Because by focusing on, let's say she talked about her ex all the time.
Right.
That's a kind of a standard complaint you hear a lot, right? About some
Yeah.
blind dates. So the more you focus on that, oh, I can't believe she was so selfish. She just wouldn't stop talking. And, she was just still caught up on her ex. Who wants a person who's that fill in the blank, repulsive, self-centered, stupid, immature, whatever it is, you're putting out to the universe as you focus on that, especially with that much, repulsive. Think of the feeling behind repulse. I was repulsed. She was repulsive. The more you put that out, the more you're telling the universe, I want repulsive. I want repulsive. So
Gotcha.
that next person that shows up might not be repulsive in the same way, but they're going to be repulsive in some way because you've asked for repulsive by
Right.
putting your focus on it. So if instead you can say, I love that I got to get out and have a good meal, and she was such a great driver, and I enjoyed looking at her teeth, and they were straight, they were white, they were nice, I got the impression she takes good oral hygiene. And if that's all I can think of, then I just stop there and then I change the subject. So I've had a nice time with a nice person who had some good attributes. Now the universe says, okay, you want a nice person and have a nice time with some
Mm.
nice attributes. I want congeniality. I want, respectability or whatever it is that, in other words, phrase it positively and feel it positively. The feeling's the most important, more important than the words. So that's my
Right.
biggest tip. Make a pros list, not a pros and cons list, and never a cons list. I don't want a drinker. I don't want a smoker. No, forget all
Yeah.
those lists. I want somebody who takes good care of her body or his body. I want somebody who really cares about their health. I want somebody who's kind and sensitive. Focus on the pros list.
I like that. Focus on the pros list. And it's funny because when I do that in terms of anything business wise, whatever, you put pros and cons.
Mm,
Anything, and then all of a sudden you start looking at the cons. I'm like, oh, whoa, all of
yeah.
a sudden you could have two cons, but it overrides the 20 positive things that you might
Yes.
have.
Yes, it
And
does.
and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this. Well, you're focusing on two bad things compared to 20 good things. And I
Well,
think yeah, go ahead.
do you know why that is, Will?
No, I never even
I'm going
thought
to tell
about
you.
that. Yeah, no, go
So
ahead.
we are human, right? We
Yeah,
are pre-wired. We come pre-wired to focus on the negative. It's a
true.
survival mechanism. So we
Mm,
have to remember, where was that last bear attack? Where's that tribe that kills us every time they come up? That's a primal thing. Like we have to
mm,
remember where the cliff is so we don't fall off. We have to remember what season, the nettles come out that kill us. We're pre-wired to focus on the negative. So
right.
we have to make a conscious focus intention to only, and I mean only. Now, none of us can do this perfectly. Okay. I don't mean 100% no
Right,
tolerance, zero
right.
tolerance. I mean, set an intention to only focus on the positive. And that way, when anything negative comes up, I can look away from it fairly quickly because I've got this intention. I'm only going to focus on the positive because I have to overcome my pre wiring.
Yeah,
It's the only way. Otherwise, life's going to keep taking a little chunk out of me, a little chunk and a little chunk and a little chunk here and there. Every little so-called failure, every time I trip and fall, every time I lose any money, every time somebody's mean to me, a little chunk, little chunk. Pretty soon, there's nothing left of me. And this is
yeah.
what happens in our society. The best people in the whole world end up very, lots of different things that are unwanted. So when you reverse that and you say, okay, I'm only going to focus on the positive, I don't get the seesaw effect. Yes, no, left,
Yeah,
right, high, low, high. That's that pros and con list. It's like, I want this, I don't want that. I want this. You don't go anywhere on a seesaw. Think of a seesaw. You work spend all this energy, and you're going up and down, but you haven't gone anywhere. You don't have any movement. You haven't
right.
accomplished anything. So when you take out that cons list, boom, now I'm focusing on just what I want. Now I'm
Yeah.
focusing on just what I want to feel. Now I'm focusing on everything that feels good in my life. Now better things can start coming to me.
It's funny. I like that what you said about just keeping everything on the positive and all that. I remember the first time I heard when somebody, I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was my one of my heroes. His name is Jim Rohn. He was like a business coach, but he always talked about being positive and focus on this and all that. And I think it was him that said like the word fear, and it's like false evidence appearing real.
Real, yeah.
I don't know if I said it right, but
Yeah, you did.
and I'm thinking to myself, my God, we always put like 90% of things that's gonna happen, and 99% of the time it doesn't happen. And
Right.
then you say to yourself, what the hell? It's like you said though, you focus on the bad and not the good. So I like the part where just have a pros list, forget about the cons, because you know
Yep.
what? Like I told you before, I wrote down two bad things that compare, and then all of a sudden I just started looking on that right column, and I'm like, yeah, that could, lose money, or friends make fun of you, something like that, something
Uh-huh.
weird. And so do you think, or do you know that maybe when we go out on dates or we plan on dates, have you ever heard, or like I've done this when I was younger, I hope she likes me. It's not
Hmm.
where I would I like her, but I'm
Right.
hoping that she would like me. And
Right.
then what happens? She doesn't like me. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, see, I knew that was gonna happen.
It's
So
like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it, though?
yes,
Because if I'm worried about whether you like me, then I'm going to be careful. Now I'm not being my true self. Now there's
yes.
nobody for you to like.
I
So
like
if
that.
I
Be
show
true
up
to
in
yourself.
authenticity, then there's somebody there for you to either like or not like, but at least you have an option. But if I'm not being myself, how do you know whether you like me or not? You can't feel me if I'm not being authentic.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's that focus on the negativity. The rejection of you not liking me overshadows the possible huge pleasure of me liking you. But we're
Right.
pre-wired. It's not our fault. We come pre-wired. We just
Yeah.
got to get a little bit smart about this. It's just a little tiny tweak, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Would that be like you said, pre-wired? Is that something maybe from our childhood or something like that? That something bad might have happened,
No, I think it's the.
or
I mean, yeah, there's that too, but because we don't necessarily know as children how to let go of whatever trauma or whatever
yeah,
fears or whatever. But we are pre-wired. When I say that, I mean the primal brain,
yeah,
like our ancestors who lived in caves and hunted. They had to know where all the dangerous stuff was, and they
right.
didn't have enough time to really focus on pleasures the way we do.
Mm,
So we have to overcome our primitive, our DNA, our like set point of being human, like what it means to, what it means to be a cat is that you can land on all fours, if you fall from a high place and then you lick yourself, you've got whiskers. The same thing with humans. We've got
yeah,
certain characteristics, and being pre-wired to focus only on the negative or more on the negative than on the positive, that's a survival mechanism that's built into us, into our animal instincts. And so we have to use these big beautiful brains of ours for something other than accentuating the negative.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
just like you said, if you've got a pros and cons list, and the pros, you've got 20 over here and you've got two cons over there, somehow they pulse at you, right? They go
100%.
woo woo woo, this is scary, and you go, oh no. So you've got to consciously overturn that tendency. That's all. And it just takes a little bit of practice. It
Yeah.
doesn't even take that much practice. It just takes setting an intention, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of reframing, a little bit of practice, encouragement, support, and boom, pretty much once you've got momentum going in that way and you learn how to do this, it really changes everything. It changes everything.
All right. So how do you set that intention though? What is it? So if you do okay, you meet someone, there's a little connection, there's a little chemistry,
Yeah.
and either she or he or whatever is looking
Mhm.
to say, you know what, I want to ask that person out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you think about your past relationships where,
Don't do that. Don't
right,
think about those
full.
past relationships.
Okay, so but I'm saying though, because unfortunately sometimes that it pops up. I
Mhm.
have a friend of mine who's in her 20s, and sometimes she thinks about some of her bad stuff that she went through.
Mhm.
Now, to me, I've done it. Maybe she's done it, or we've done it. You're sabotaging that person you want to ask out. It's not even
Right.
their fault.
Right.
So, okay,
No.
so how do you set that intention though? How?
Okay.
Yeah, go
This
ahead.
is how you do it. Okay. You sit down in a quiet place, totally, protected, peaceful, quiet,
Yeah.
go to the bathroom if you have to, if you're surrounded by little kids or whatever, and find that quiet place and sit down and start writing out a list. And
Yeah.
here's how I would start. I would start with everybody I ever dated. So we're going to stay on topic, dating, right?
Right.
I'm going to take everybody I ever dated, and I'm only going to write down the positive things about that person. I know that I can think of one thing positive about every single person I've ever met in my entire life. So write down as much as you can positive about each one of those people. And then sit there and focus on that and say, okay, this is how I'm going to approach this from now on. Now, I'm going to start practicing with flowers or trees or water. I love this glass of water. I'm going to practice appreciating. Look how clear and pure that is. And
Right.
oh, that feels so good on my throat. In other words, practice appreciating when it's safe, when it's easy on little subjects. And then keep coming back to that list and keep trying to think of one more thing about each one of those people and keep building it up and building it up. The next time you go on your date, we're human. It's going to happen. You're going to
Yeah.
say, oh my God, she's a blah, 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 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, yes, but she's wearing a beautiful dress.
Mm.
Yes, but she's got a nice walk. I like how confident she walks. Yes, but she's got beautiful eyes. Whatever it is, yes, but, and start focusing on that positive. Now,
Right.
this is not going to happen your very first date. You're going to do this perfectly. It's
Yeah.
just not. Just accept that. You're human. You didn't learn to walk. You didn't just stand up one day as a baby, as a toddler, and say, boop, and I just walk across the room. You stood up and you fell down. You stood up and you fell down. You took one step and you fell down. You took two steps and you fell down.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Give yourself some grace and don't beat up on yourself, but practice on small things and start implementing it as much as you can on the dating thing ahead of time before you're with that person. And then just practice. Just
Yeah.
practice. It, and the more emotion you can put into it, the more excited you can get about it, the more like, oh my gosh, that was a beautiful car he was driving. It had leather seats. And, like really feel it, like really get animated about it. You don't have to say it out loud if you don't want, but it helps if you can say
Yeah.
it out loud and just get positive about the subject matter in general, and then specifically as soon as you can about each specific person, and just keep building on it. And you'll notice the next time you go on a date, it's going to be somebody who's much more closely matched to what you're looking for. It's
Yeah.
going to seem like magic. When this stuff starts to really kick in, it seems like magic at first, but it
No,
doesn't.
and it's funny because I remember, and I definitely believe like in karma. I definitely believe, as they say, putting it out there for the
Mm-hmm.
universe to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And and one of my goals was to move here in New York, to move to the Upper West Side. And I'm going to tell you, and I had a building in mind, right? So when I moved here 3 years ago, and I realized how close I was to the building I wanted to move in, I'm like, I can't complain. It's 5 blocks different. I'm
Mm-hmm.
closer to, to the park where me and my friends hang out during the spring and the summer. It's walking distance. And I said to myself, man, if you do focus on the positive and not, because I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes I do focus on the negative, with especially with some relationships. But I like the part where you said focus on what did that person have that made you smile or whatever. So I said to him, once you said that, I'm like, okay, there was one particular ex that I got to tell you, Ramona, and we're talking with Ramona Galey today, is being focused on what we want in dating. And I got to tell you, Ramona, I said to myself, if I see this woman, how would I react? But I always said, I'll be cordial.
Mm-hmm.
But I will focus, instead of on the negative that ended our relationship, there was some positives. I did have fun with her. We made
Mm-hmm.
each other laugh. So I got to remember that and not the negative. So I thank you for that. Anyway,
You're very welcome.
moving forward. So when you talk to your clients, whether they're young or old, especially the older people, like like myself, I'm in my 60s. Can we break through? Is that difficult?
Absolutely.
Okay, because if you're focused on some bad things that happened the last 10 years, 20 years, that's a huge list. Now we're trying to narrow it down to even like, hey, this is positive, this is negative, but hey, I got the positive going. So how do you work on that, Ramona?
Well, to me, you work on, I'm 64. So, and
Okay.
I didn't even start this level of my work until I was 59, 60 years old. So
Okay.
yeah, in fact, I had probably just turned 60 when I first started doing this work.
Yeah.
So I think that the only reason this whole thing about age is way out of proportion, because
I
the
agree.
reason why
Yeah.
older people seem, not so resilient, not so happy, not so this and that, is because, remember, I was talking about life taking little bits out of you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you do not learn the skill of releasing the unwanted, life will continue to weigh. It'll just, it's like a grain of sand and a grain of sand and a grain of sand gets heavier and heavier and heavier, or a drop of water and a drop of water, heavier and heavier. If you're still carrying it, it's going to weigh you down, and pretty soon you're going to be all bent over and
Yeah.
all decrepit. And if you learn how to release it, which I didn't even start learning this until I was 55 years old. That was when Betty died. I was 55.
Wow.
And so that's when I started. I didn't really get good at it for another couple of years. So let's say I'm 58. And then I started really getting good at it. And then I started teaching. And they say if you want to really learn something, teach it.
Teacher.
So
Yeah.
I got even better. The more I teach it, the better I get. The more I teach it, the better I get.
Yeah.
And so there is no age at which it is too late. None. There's not one. You could be 99 years old and you could still start implementing this. And you
Mm.
will start feeling better almost immediately. That's what I see. And I would say my oldest client so far to date has been about 69, I'm going to guess. I don't actually know her age, but she started feeling better within 15 minutes of our first session.
That's amazing.
It is
That is
amazing.
amazing.
It's just a matter of focus.
Yeah.
It really is. We choose our focus. It's just like putting a camera to your eye. You
Yeah.
can look this way and that way, right? You choose, and okay, do it like, and then you choose your focus and then you take the picture.
Picture. Yeah.
Our eyes are the same way. Our brains are the same way. I can look at this ugly thing over here, or I can look at this beautiful thing over here. Only I can choose. I can choose to look that way. My pre-wiring wants me to look that way.
Yeah.
I can choose. I can override it. I've got this beautiful human brain, and I can choose because I know better now. And so that's the basis of everything. And it's especially applicable in dating. It really is.
No, I definitely believe that. Well, first of all, Ramona, I could probably talk to you for like another 2 hours.
I would love it.
So before I let you go, talk more about your coaching.
Well, let's see. I offer both private sessions and group sessions. And the group program is the one where probably most of your listeners would be more interested in. It's called the Alignment Circle, small
Okay.
group coaching program. And we meet twice a week. And so it's a little bit of a commitment. It's 90 minutes twice a week. And so people come in and they start for 3 months. They make a 3 month commitment, and then you can stay for as long as you want. You can stay or come and go for on a month by month basis after that. But everybody starts with that first 3 months, because it takes about 3 months to start to really get the momentum going. That's the reason why we meet twice a week. Because if you're trying to do all this on your own, it's very tough to get momentum going. It's
Yeah.
very, very tough. I'll be honest with you. The more support you have, the encouragement you have, and practice that you can do, if you've got a little bit of spare time in your life, the better it is. But we've got people in the group that are very busy, but they take out that one 90-minute thing, Wednesday evenings, Sunday afternoons,
Yeah.
and there's enough momentum going by doing it twice a week with all of the community support and all the it's 90 minutes of incredibly feeling good, and we're seeing people get just tremendous results,
Yeah.
just phenomenal results in how they feel, in the results they're getting, in how they're perceiving better what they actually want. A lot of people don't really know. It's very tough in our society. At some point, when at a certain age, you get to the point where you don't even know what you want.
Yeah.
Again, that little chipping away at you, right? So figuring out what you want and releasing the things that are keeping you from it, and keeping your momentum going on your positivity, your high alignment, your vibration. That's the kind of the secret, and that's what we do, and we've got just tremendous results going on. So that's
No,
where I would encourage any of your listeners to look first.
yeah, no, I'll definitely put that in the show notes. And you have a book about to launch soon.
I
Tell us
do. I
about
have.
that. Tell us about
It's
that.
my first book, and it's called From Lonely to
One
Fearless.
of many. Let's stay on the
It
intention. One
it
of
is
many.
the first of a series. It's called the Fearless series.
Okay.
And so I don't know exactly what the title of the second one will be, but it's already starting to percolate. Actually, number two and number three,
Yeah.
but it could be anything from addicted to fearless, from homeless to fearless, from grief
Right.
stricken to fearless, whatever condition we find ourselves in, I can help you get from there to fearless
Yeah.
in a relatively short period of time. And I just love doing that kind of work. So I really enjoyed writing this book. As it turns out, I'm going to tell you a secret. Writing the book is the easy part. Getting it published is the hard part.
Okay.
It's
I
so
got you.
funny. It's so funny how the formatting and the requirements and the technical and the oh my gosh, that has taken longer than it took me to actually write the book. But I'm very excited about it. It'll be on Amazon probably the end of January. I'm not sure when this will be airing for you, but the
Yeah.
end of January 2024 will be I think is when it'll be available on Amazon. From Lonely to Fearless, Ramona Galey. My first book, I've already gotten some really great reviews. I'm feeling really good about the book. When you create something, you don't have
Yeah.
any idea how anybody's going to respond to it. But
Yeah.
I've gotten some
100%.
really great feedback already, so I feel really good about it, and I can't wait for your. Oh, just so you'll know, the day that it comes out, the ebook that it comes out, probably that first week, it's only going to be 99 cents. It's going to be a special, um, promotion. So if your listeners want to pick it up real quick and just try it, they'll have a chance to do that for just a buck.
Oh,
So
it
yeah.
sounds good. Again, yeah, I'll definitely get that on the show notes. And if somebody want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
RamonaGaley.com. There's a contact us form there. And you can also just write book at RamonaGaley.com is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. Do It Yourself Happiness is a wonderful group. Oh my gosh, we have such a phenomenal group there. It's a private group.
Yeah.
And so if you want to join there, you'll get all kinds of tips and tricks on how to feel better. That's a great support community to get that momentum going.
Nice.
And I'm also on YouTube. But you can find all that on the website. The easiest way to find me and just get started is RamonaGaley.com.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show as well. First of all, Ramona, thank you so much for being on People on Daily. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I
Thank
really
you. This was
appreciate
a
it.
really, I really enjoyed this very much. Thanks, Will. And you're
Oh, no,
doing a
me
great
too.
job.
Well, I
Congratulations.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll definitely talk soon. I'll definitely have you back on. Once the book launches, we could definitely revisit, you coming on People on Dating again. That'd be great.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
All
Bye
right.
bye.